These are the headlines of 2003. February 1st, the Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrated upon re-entry, tragically killing all on board. The disaster was likely caused by damage taken to the left wing during the launch, when a piece of foam hit the wing.
February 15th, millions of people worldwide take part in a massive anti-war protest in anticipation of the United States and its allies invading Iraq to overthrow Saddam Hussein's regime. Millions of people worldwide take part in... Wow!
You got this.
February 15th, millions of people worldwide take part in massive anti-war protests in anticipation of the United States and its allies invading Iraq to overthrow Saddam Hussein's regime.
March 12th, the World Health Organization issues a global alert on severe acute respiratory syndrome when it spreads to Hong Kong and Vietnam after originating in mainland China.
April 9th, U.S. forces seize control of Baghdad, ending the rule of Saddam Hussein.
May 23rd, Dewey, the world's first cloned deer, is born at Texas A&M University.
June 2nd, Mars Express launches containing the Beagle 2 lander.
August 1st, social network service MySpace is launched.
October 15th, China launches Shenzhou 5, their first human spaceflight.
October 24th, Concorde makes its last commercial flight, bringing the era of airline supersonic travel to an end.
And December 13th, Saddam Hussein, the former president of Iraq, is captured in the small town of Adwar by the U.S. Army. These are the headlines that made 2003. And in 2024, you're listening to XY PodCats. Cloned a deer.
How does that happen?
Who could tell the difference before?
So what, they have like a first and second edition now?
Well, I mean, I see deer in the wild all the time. I can't tell them apart, and I'll see more than one. It looks
exactly.
It looks like the same deer copied.
Reminds me of the movie Twister when the cow goes across the hood. There he goes. That's the same one.
I think it's the same cow. Welcome back, folks, to another episode of XY Podcasts.
I'm Sam, Y.
I'm Scott, X. And this year we're doing 2003.
It is my brother's birthday. Birth year. Sorry.
Oh.
Yep. Brother Xavier.
How many brothers do you have?
I have 4.
You know, I didn't know that you had a 4th brother until just now. I thought you had 2.
3. 3's adopted.
Okay. Yes. I was you're talking about the one that I know.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you have 4 brothers.
Oh yeah. Very close to the family.
I have questions, but not today. 2003, as I said, was a long time ago. Interesting year. 2001, 9/11 wasn't too far in the rearview mirror, and there was a whole lot of
we're
interest.
still feeling the shockwaves.
Yeah, we were still living in a brand new post 9/11 world, and how quickly we forget.
Now we're 2003. We sent troops over to Iraq in this year, 2003.
It does seem like a long time ago because now we're living in a post-COVID world, and
COVID about took me out.
COVID took a lot of us out. Even those of us who didn't get it, which I did get it, even though I got my shots, but I still got COVID. But fortunately, we weren't one of the ones who actually didn't survive it. But 2003, there were a lot of hot button topics that it's amazing how hot button topics, as they're so called, still remain current issues of our day.
Yeah, 21 years later. That's
Right.
wild.
Same-sex marriage.
It's big back then. Here's how my take on it. You want to marry the same sex, awesome. You want to have a birthday, not a birthday. You want to have a wedding, cool. Invite me. I love cake. Uh, here's where I get an issue with it. When the preacher says, I can't marry you because it's against my religion, and they don't just go find another preacher that can marry them, they take it to the courts, and then the government gets involved, and they fire the preacher or make him quit his job. You're taking away freedom of religion.
I completely
When
agree with that.
when they could have just said, hey, let's go find another preacher that doesn't care to marry us, or an ordained minister, or something of that nature.
Let's just say hypothetically, I wanted to marry you, um, just just because we liked each other's company.
Can we buy a boat?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, we have to buy a boat. We have to buy a boat. We have to have some great big giant dogs.
All right, keep going with this.
And you already have guns, so I don't need to buy any.
Okay, I'll protect you. That's fine.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping that you'll let me shoot,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I don't want to just look at them. I just don't feel like buying any guns at this point. I've made it this long without actually having to purchase any firearms, but it'd be cool to have access to some. But anyway, yeah, but definitely a boat. Actually, guns on the boat.
Yeah, we can just shoot the fish.
Can we like have guns big enough to mount to the actual boat?
Pulling out the 50 cal style.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm talking about.
Let's do it.
I guess we're gonna need a speedboat then.
Yeah, because after finding one of those, you're gonna have to get away quick.
Yes, as we can't just stay in one place. What was it? I don't know. There's a wake.
Woo woo.
But yeah, so theoretically, we want to get married. All right. So obviously at that point we've already dealt with our own form of persecution, our freedom to express ourselves, so to speak. So then why would we want to turn around and do the same thing to a minister who's just following his convictions?
Exactly. And I think that's what's wrong with the world today. They don't know how to just let it go. Just, he can't do it. Let's move on. And actually, me being recently divorced, I understand more now why men marry men.
Okay, I want to hear this.
That's all I'm gonna say on that one.
Okay. There was an episode of a show called Boston Legal that was out, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago. William Shatner was in it and James Spader. It was like a ridiculous kind of legal comedy. It was spun off of The Practice, which was a drama.
Mhm.
But Boston Legal was just zany and crazy. But the James Spader and William Shatner characters came to be really good friends, and they genuinely loved each other as friends, very hetero, but they just decided to get married. Not because they were gay for each other, but just because they wanted to live together and spend their lives together, and they decided as two heterosexual guys to get married.
Think of the benefits. You get the tax at the end of the year for being married. You get double the tax because you live together.
Yeah, and there's nothing on the books that says same-sex marriage requires you to be homosexual.
Exactly.
I thought, as ridiculous as that was, it makes a really good point. But we we both have seen Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes. Yes, we have. Wow.
And speaking of marriages of a kind, that was most definitely one of the best buddy movies you're ever going to see. It most certainly was.
That was one heck of a bromance movie. You have to see it.
it was crazy. So for anyone who is maybe new to the planet Earth, oh, this is the third Deadpool movie, and I don't know how many Wolverine movies this would make,
9
but
he's been in,
yeah, he's been in. Oh
I
yeah, so
believe.
he was in all three X-Men. He was in actually he was in all three original X-Men, and
Yeah,
then there was X-Men Origins
Apocalypse,
Wolverine. Um, he was in the
Logan.
um Logan. He did Logan
Yeah.
after Days of Future Past, and then he had
So,
a brief appearance in Apocalypse,
yeah.
and he had an appearance in X-Men First Class.
So there's
So
8 right there.
and so this I think you're right. I think this is 9.
Hmm.
And aside from which they did throw an Easter egg into the movie about what an appropriate height Wolverine would look like. Oh my gosh, I howled. I was actively laughing for like 75% of that movie.
Yeah, I was there with you. I'm actually going to go see it again on Monday.
I will be seeing it again as well. It's
Yeah.
just to see what Easter eggs I might have missed. But
And the dancing that Deadpool does, the Bye 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 song. You couldn't have choreographed that any better.
and I love that Deadpool humor. It's kind of like there's shades of Seth MacFarlane where they're just like, they beat the joke to death. Like for example, the fight in the minivan went on forever, but it didn't
Oh,
get
what, like
old.
7 minutes straight?
It didn't get old. And then when the shot when they cut to them over the minivan, they're both knocked out, and Deadpool's tied up in the seatbelt.
I thought that was completely done after it showed them both laying there, and then the van takes off. How's it running?
Oh my goodness! And then the cameos, the the Johnny Storm fake out was
Yeah, I'm
was
really surprised Disney approved all this.
right, but they're not stupid. Kevin Feige signed off on it, so um yeah, he approved it, and and then they got Wesley Snipes to appear
Oh,
as
Blade,
Blade.
yeah. When he came
Uh,
on the screen, I was like, "What?"
that yeah, and then he threw in the little dig about and I'm the only Blade there'll ever be, or whatever the line was.
Yeah, it's kind of like Wolverine. He's Hugh Jackman's the only Wolverine there'll ever be.
Yeah, it'll be a sad day if and when they ever recast him.
Not until he's 90.
And still jacked, clearly, but oh, lots of fun. Oh, I did check though. That dog is actually not Ryan Reynolds' dog.
No, it was the ugliest British dog or
Yeah,
something like that. One of the ugliest British dog.
I think her name is Peggy or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Which makes it that much more gross when the dog's just licking him in the mouth. It's like that's not even
Yeah.
his dog.
And has the tongue even been brushed?
If by the time this podcast airs, you have not seen Deadpool and Wolverine, get yourself to the theater.
And
I don't.
get out from under the rock. Go to the theater.
My mother and I saw it on preview night, so you have no excuse. And remember that we air like a week after we record, so we're not. I don't feel like we're in spoiler territory. You should have seen it by now. It's the number one movie in the world.
What was it, grossing like 47 million or something like that the first week?
Yeah, it's it's primed to break box office records.
Yeah, it's going to be up there for a minute.
Um, I may have to buy it when it comes out on video.
That's a must. They're probably going to do like a triple box set.
probably. And there will certainly be toys and figurines. But yeah, good movie. Definitely enjoyed that. You didn't get a chance to see Bad Boys, did you?
I did.
Oh,
I
okay.
watched it at home.
Yeah, that is on streaming now.
It is.
I might give that a watch again. I'm not paying for it though. If I have to wait for it to go to one of the free services, then I'll do that.
I'll rewatch it as well, and we could talk about that next recording.
Yep, yep. Um, Probably well within the next couple weeks, Alien Romulus it will be out, which is definitely on my list to see.
Theaters.
Oh, I'm definitely seeing it in the theater.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm sure I'll watch it on video when it comes to streaming, but I'm not going to deny myself the opportunity to see that movie in the theater. The original Alien is, in my opinion, one of the best horror movies ever put on film. And the sequel, Aliens, as we've talked about already in previous episodes, is one of the best sequels to any movie, in my opinion, of all time. So I'm a fan of the franchise if you eliminate the third and fourth and Alien versus Predator films. I'm a big fan of the first two movies.
Mhm.
Not overly crazy about Prometheus, and
Mhm.
Alien Covenant was meh.
I did watch Prometheus. I wasn't a big fan of it.
No, I mean it was Ridley Scott. He directed Prometheus and Alien Covenant, but he just came up with this whole thing of giving the xenomorphs a an origin, that they were created by the android David, which, you know, it's much creepier and scarier when you don't know where they came from.
Hmm.
And, the less you know about the boogeyman, the creepier the boogeyman is. I mean, the xenomorph is one of the scariest and nastiest looking movie monsters in cinematic history, in my opinion. But
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
yeah, I think a lot of people would agree. Giger,
Yeah.
H.R. Giger, the artist who designed
Hmm.
the xenomorph, he's a messed up dude. You just Google H.R. Giger artwork, and some of the stuff that comes up will just blow your mind. And I think you'll have to turn off your like, how the search engine will like kind of moderate adult content.
Yeah.
I think you might have to turn that off to get some of his images, because a lot of his images are just inherently phallic. Mind you, you might get other stuff in the search too, so be cautioned. You
Oh boy.
might not want to have the girls in the room when you search the HR Giger stuff. But
Yeah, it's like Googling blue waffle.
well, speaking of
Don't do
movies,
that.
speaking of movies, once again, 2003 ended up being a better year for them than I remember. I once again put together a top 10 list of films for 2003. I don't know if
So
you,
did I. Yeah.
that is fantastic. I think I went first last time.
All right. Let's kick this off with number 10.
Okay.
Number 10, I have Holes with Shia LaBeouf in it.
Holes.
Yeah. They're in a I think it was a juvenile facility for
Yeah,
teens.
I didn't see it, but I remember the movie coming out. What
Hmm.
the reason I was surprised, because I'm almost positive that that was a two release year for Shia LaBeouf, because
Oh.
Holes came out after the Battle of Shaker Heights, I believe.
Uh, oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And that was 2003. So just kind of surprised that he had two releases that year.
He had a lot of free time on his hands.
He has a lot more now.
Oh yeah. So coming in at number 9, The Rundown. The Rock, The Rock's
That,
edition with Sean William Scott.
yep, and Christopher Walken. That is on my list as well.
I can't tell you how many times I've watched that movie.
Mm, it's
That and
it's
Walking Tall also, but that came out later.
that's when The Rock was starting to come into his own.
And it was good comedy too.
Very,
He wasn't bad at it.
very good. Well, I think Peter Berg directed that movie, and Peter Berg is actually a very competent director.
So coming in at number 8, I have Bruce Almighty with
Also,
Jim Carrey, Morgan Freeman, Anderson, and Steve Carell.
also on my list.
Um, my favorite part out of the whole movie is when Steve Carell's talking. He's on the news, and he starts talking, and uh, Jim Carrey's typing like he's typing in the air, and he's like, Steve Carell starts doing this.
Yes.
Oh, that cracks me up every time. And it's a good movie I can watch with my kids.
My favorite part is the fight in the alley with the that'll be a day that a monkey comes out of my butt. Well, what a coincidence that's today. Hey, hey, my friend, the anal dwelling little butt monkey. It's time for you to go home. And it does.
So many good parts of this movie.
Yes. Uh,
Number 7, Underworld.
okay. Yep, that's also on my list.
Is it?
Yes, yes, it is. The first Underworld it should be considered a classic. It was cool. It was cool and it was slick.
I saw the
Um,
first one. After the first one, I haven't seen the rest.
that's a good place to stop, actually. No, it is.
For real?
The second one wasn't bad. I did enjoy the second one. And I think the third one was a prequel. But then after that, it was just kind of, trying to milk as much out of the franchise as possible.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I mean, Kate Beckinsale is a good actress. She's hot. Um, but I think they had gotten most of the juice out of the fruit by the end of the first one. The second one was, it was a fine sequel, but after that, when Scott Speedman left, um, then they were just kind of trying to. It was almost as hard as making a Black Panther sequel without Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah. Nearly
Uh,
impossible.
yeah, it's pretty tough. But what's the next one?
Number 6, Freddy versus Jason.
Ah,
The first time they've met.
I remember that.
Yeah.
There were supposed to be more of those, I believe, because
What was Jason X? Was he?
the
I
Jason
don't think.
Jason Jason X was like Jason in space, like in the future, if I'm
Yeah, I
remembering
wasn't a
correctly.
big fan of it.
No, no, it was. I mean, to talk about franchises that have been milked, but that's kind of their charm. The whole Jason Freddy versus Jason. So Jason won the first round, but they implied that there were going to be more, but it just never happened. But they were banging. They were going at it.
Oh yeah, some of the best fight scenes you'll see.
You want to have some
So
fun. I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead.
So you want to have some fun. Uh, I can't remember the name of the channel, but somebody has posted a channel where they tell AI to tell stories about two very powerful fictitious characters going at it. Like somebody wrote a story of Pennywise the clown versus Freddy, and they let AI tell the story, and then they post it and they narrate it, and then it's illustrated with like still pictures, also generated by AI. But it's pretty interesting the scenario that the AI comes up with as how the battle would play out, and then who wins.
Oh, that seems interesting. I'm gonna have to look at these.
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed them. They did that one with Freddy versus Pennywise. Um, they did one, I think, with the xenomorphs versus the Thing. Yeah, there's a few of them out there, but that's was probably inspired by the whole Freddy versus Jason thing. But
I don't know if you remember this or not, but in the late 90s and early 2000s, they had a show on MTV called Celebrity Deathmatch.
was it animated like claymation?
Yeah, it was claymation.
I think I
That's
remember
what
that.
it kind of reminds me of that.
I think I remember that. Um, but I'm sorry, continue.
It's all right. Number five, we have Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
And
It's
that series never gets old either.
it's funny, even the ones that you mentioned that I don't have on my list, there were ones that I looked at and considered ranking.
Really.
Yeah.
That whole series, that whole is really good.
Yes.
But number four, we have Finding Nemo.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go wrong with that. It's kind of a sad story though if you really look at it.
Hmm.
Go in depth with
It says escape. Kind of looks like escape.
it. Number three, we have Elf.
Okay.
Not really much to say about that one.
That's one I did not consider.
All right. Number two, we have Out of Time, Denzel Washington.
Also on my list.
And number one, Gods and Generals, Jeff Daniels, Stephen Lang, Kevin Conway.
Hmm. Hmm. Nice one. Nice one. Good
Mhm.
stuff. Well, I'll be brief then.
Oh, 1 second. A little story about the movies I picked. Those were all Xavier's picks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Cheater.
I'll let him do this episode since it was his birth year.
Just for that, tell him that now he's going to actually have to be on the podcast.
Oh, he listens to it, every one of them.
So, all right. So, my 10, I'll just run through them. Freaky Friday, Jamie Lee
Good one.
Curtis, Lindsay Lohan. Friday. Number 9, X2, X-Men United.
Hugh Jackman.
Yep. Once again. 8, Tears of the Sun with Bruce Willis, directed by Antoine Fuqua, who is from here. He's from Pittsburgh.
I've got the VHS of that movie.
I recall enjoying it very much. 7, Out of Time, starring Denzel Washington, a frequent Antoine Fuqua collaborator, including their most recent collaboration, Equalizer 3, which,
Can't make a bad movie.
and that was a very, very good one. 6, Underworld, that we just talked about. 5, Bad Boys 2.
Oh man. I remember watching that when it came out with my dad. I don't know. One of the funniest parts is when the bodies start flying out of the van.
Who shot you? Or that who be you? I shot you? Number 4 is 28 Days Later, which kind of redefined the whole zombie genre, even though the 28 Days Later zombies weren't zombies. They were just people who were infected, but they were lit.
And kind of like the Underworld, in my opinion. After you watch 28 Days Later, just stop. I didn't like the
Yeah.
other ones.
No, I'm only aware of the one sequel, but I understand that they're either remaking the first one or they're doing another sequel of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They should have just stopped. We all knew who Cillian Murphy was at that point, so that was a good place to stop. Number 3, Kill Bill Volume 1.
Now you need to see the second one if you watch one.
You do, but
Yeah.
weirdly enough, the second one, tone and pace wise, is very different from the first one. The first one is just kind of action packed and quick paced. The second one has more of a slow burn.
More of a
But
story. All right.
but I think they're both meant to be watched together, to be watched back to back. At number 2, The Rundown, which we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some honorable mentions before I give my number 1 pick. So the honorable mentions are, and this one was a begrudging honorable mention because I have kind of I have mixed feelings about Tom Cruise, but The Last Samurai I thought was a good movie.
It was good for what it was.
It I mean, probably more so the spectacle.
Yeah.
Um,
He needs to stick to flying planes though.
Also, an honorable mention is The Matrix Reloaded, which I might have actually ranked had The Matrix Revolutions, in my opinion, been better.
Right.
Once again, The Matrix Revolutions was still loaded with a lot of fighting, a lot of spectacle. It was a lot of good eye candy. I don't think they quite stuck the landing. They were going for something, but I don't think it translated well. And we won't even talk about The Matrix Resurrections on this podcast. There's a theory out there that that movie was made to deliberately be bad, and there's a lot of good evidence to support that.
Oh Lord.
Also in my honorable mentions is Bruce Almighty, which we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
along with Finding Nemo. But my number 1 pick
Mm-hmm.
is The Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
I watched all three of them in theaters.
Yeah, as did I. Any movie that I'm sitting in that I'm like sitting there fighting tears back because I don't want people to see my grown ass crying in front of a crowd of people, it has to make my list. And Return of the King was definitely one of them. So
Very good shakes.
did you do a TV list?
Yes, yes, I did. The TV shows I have 5 down. The top
As do I.
5.
Yep.
I'm just gonna run through them. Starting at 5, I have Comedy Central roasts.
Oh, nice one. Good direction.
Oh yeah. Did you watch the Tom Brady roast?
No, I didn't. I did not.
Oh man. Trigger warning. Anyway, number 4, Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Okay. Some
It
reality
was
TV.
a really good series until his wife Beth passed away.
Hmm.
I think she had cancer. But
I think I did hear something about that.
number 3, Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Was that the cell animated one, or was that the CG one?
That I don't know.
So was it like cartoon or
Yeah, yeah,
computer?
cartoons.
Okay. Yeah, I remember being into that also. I kind of dug that. That was when they first introduced General Grievous.
That's right, yeah. And then in what was Return of the Sith? What was Return of the Sith?
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith. I got Return of the King and Revenge of the Sith mixed up.
Well, also Return of the Jedi was originally Revenge of the Jedi, so there's that.
Was it really?
Yeah, yeah, they were going to call it Revenge of the Jedi, and there were even promotional materials released with Revenge of the Jedi on it, but George Lucas said, "No, Jedi's don't take revenge. It should be Return of the Jedi."
Oh, good words from a
Yep.
wise man.
Then he sold
Number
his
2.
fortune.
Oh, he sold it for like billions, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. I guess I would have too if I made that much off of it.
He sold his soul and his creativity and his heart, and all for a measly fortune.
His
Uh,
grandkids are set.
I he couldn't even possibly spend all the money that he has.
Not in
Uh,
his wildest dreams.
I remember a comedian joking and says, "Gee, I mean, when you're getting $1 million a day, I mean, George Lucas must really hate February because it's the shortest month of the year. Oh, I'm only going to make $29 million this month, or $28 million this month.
That sucks. That's
Yeah,
cheap.
Uh, but I'm sorry, your next pick.
Number two, Danny Phantom cartoon series.
I remember that one. And I kind of have to remind myself that you were at that point, you would have been watching all kid shows.
Right. Yeah. I
But I,
was 14.
yeah, I remember Danny Phantom because my kids watched it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was all right.
And the
Um,
the Fairly Odd Step Parents.
oh, the Fairly Odd Parents. Yeah. The green
Oh,
and pink.
yes. Okay.
And number one, Two and a Half Men.
Man,
Men.
I confess I've seen a bits and pieces of episodes and never really got into it, but obviously everybody knows about the show because Charlie Sheen flipped his wig and Tiger Blood winning, and that's
Yeah.
probably if nobody ever watched the show, then that would be why you know about it because Charlie Sheen just went off the deep end, which was unfortunate. But it seemed to have in its own way. I'm about to compare it to Seinfeld, and it's not like the show was like Seinfeld, but it was similar to Seinfeld in this aspect. The characters never learned anything on that show, and I think that was by design. And I think that's where a lot of the appeal came from, is that these characters were going to be forever who they were. There was not going
Yeah.
to be any kind of arc or growth.
Is what you get.
Yeah, but very, very Chuck Lorre. Well, unlike our movie picks, my TV picks are very different.
What do you have?
So I'll start off with number five, which I'll qualify this one, NCIS. The reason I put an NCIS on the list is because when it first came out, I did watch it. I watched it consistently. It's a long running show. It's one of the longest running procedurals on TV, and you got to give it credit for that. Number four is Arrested Development, which was a comedy. Jason Bateman. Um, Number three, one you might not know. This one's called Dead Like Me. It was on Showtime.
I don't know that one.
It was about a bunch of Grim Reapers. So this girl who she's kind of like, I think she's 18, and her mother makes her go get a job, which she hates, but she's killed in a freak accident. A toilet from a space station that burns up in orbit
Hmm.
hits her and kills her. But after that, she's recruited to be a Grim Reaper. And so her and Mandy Patinkin and Jasmine Guy and a couple other characters go around collecting souls from people who are about to be killed in tragic accidents. It's a ridiculous premise, but it was a really enjoyable comedy.
I might actually check that one out.
Number two, and this one I'm surprised was not on your list, The
What's
Chappelle
that?
Show.
Oh, you know what's funny? I have every season to that show.
My favorite episode of The Chappelle Show was when he had
Mhm.
Wayne Brady on. Clayton Bigsby, the blind racist who's black. Oh my goodness. So anyway, my number one pick, which is the furthest thing from the Chappelle Show, was the Battlestar Galactica miniseries. So that was number one, and it's number one because it spawned actually the whole series, which they actually ended about 5 years later. So those are my TV picks.
That's a strong list, man, to be honest.
It's got the Chappelle Show on it. So music,
What spawns off of good TV shows is good music.
yes. Wellman once again, 2003 had. I was still listening to music then, so I had some picks. No doubt, I only picked five, but no doubt there'll probably be some overlap. Then again, maybe not, because your musical tastes are much more diverse than mine.
I have one good top five for you here. It's a mix.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna start it off with number five, "In the Club" by 50 Cent.
Okay.
It was off his debut album with Interscope, "Get Rich or
Uh,
Die Trying."
okay.
And at number four, we have "It's 5 O'clock Somewhere" by Alan Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, throw some country in there for you.
Eclectic. Nice. I appreciate that. Sounds more eclectic than my list.
And then at number three, "Hey Ya" by Outkast. And
Mm,
I think the album was called Speaker Box, something in Speaker Box.
okay.
Yeah, it wasn't their first album. The first album was called Stankonia.
Well, if had I remembered Hey Ya was released in that year, that would have made my list.
Oh, that's a party song.
Oh yes.
No, we still jam to that song here. It's it's not going to go away anytime soon. Number two, we have "Red Dirt Road" by Brooks and Dunn.
Okay.
Yeah, Brooks and Dunn legends. And number one, "Stacy's Mom" by Fountains of Wayne. She still got it going on.
So I hear. Well, okay. I'm surprised. Those are rather diverse lists, kind of better than I expected. These are in no particular order. You got to give Eminem credit for "Lose Yourself." I mean, that was the theme song for 8 Mile. You know the
Um, about that song, did you know he made another version of it, but he forgot what he said in it, so he had to re-record it, and the re-recorded version was released.
Oh, well, did he like just freestyle and like not write it down?
Yeah, that's what he did to it, and he was on back then in that year, he was still on drugs and going through hardships, and he had forgotten what he had said. And he was like, "I'm gonna redo this," and so he made it, more radio friendly.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting story. And then next is "Stand Up,
Stand
Stand Up."
up,
And I'll move, you move.
just like that.
Yes, Luda. And then "Get Low, Get Low, Get Low, Get Low."
To the window,
To the wall. To
the
the
sweat drop down.
yeah, right.
What's the next one?
Uh, uh Little John and the East Side Boys with the Yin Yang Twins, which made me search when did the Whisper song come out, but that's not till like 2005, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
Then Right There by Chingy.
I like it when you do that right there.
Mm-hmm. Fun song. And then the last one, which is Clocks by Coldplay. I have mixed feelings about this pick.
Did you
Uh,
pick this pick?
I no, I did. It was definitely my pick. I can't blame anyone else for it, but I I think it's just because it was played so often and it was so prevalent in my mind, and it wasn't a bad song, but I think if I had known it was by Coldplay instead of who I thought it was by, which was U2, I probably wouldn't have paid the song any mind.
Huh,
Because if you listen to that song, it sounds very U2. You can definitely tell that U2 was an influence on Coldplay.
right.
It said it was widely played. I don't, and Chris Martin seems to be a nice stand-up guy. I have nothing against him, but I think I just selected I selected Clocks because it was just, every time I turned around, it was being played, and like so, I gave it credit for that reason.
That was a good list.
Yeah, a lot of good media from 2003.
Kind of threw me off with the Coldplay one though.
Yeah, well, threw myself off too. I I have to go back and watch me some Chappelle clips.
Oh yeah, I have them on DVD if you ever want to borrow those.
Okay. I guess that brings us to the close of another episode. I'll figure out what is the next year that we'll discuss and figure out what new topics we will have to discuss.
Yeah, I wonder what the hot points are going to be for next week's.
Well, feel free to throw something into the mix. It could be anything.
Yeah, send us a letter. I have the PO box tagged in our description.
Yeah, we'll put our spin on it. Don't forget to tell the folks to like and subscribe.
Oh yes, everybody! Don't forget to like, subscribe, and remember to never eat the monkey cheese.
I'm really glad I don't have no idea what that means. And I don't want to know. You don't have to explain it to me either.
Google is your friend.
Not in this time. Sounds like something akin to Fromunda cheese. With that, I will say X,
Y,
and Z. See you later.
See you later.
And we're out.
It's really not what you think it is.
No? Okay.
No, it's really not.
What is? No, I'm not. I'm. What is monkey cheese?
Monkey cheese is actually, if you're going with the whole J-Rock thing, is a strand of weed.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then you would definitely not eat it, but that's a weird name for something to smoke. Okay.